Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a first look at the Week 1 NFL slate on Draftkings and Yahoo. I'm super excited to make this video and to talk through the Week 1 NFL slate. I know it has been a while since I've uploaded to YouTube. It's been a couple months. When NBA season ended, I decided to just kind of step away from the content for a little bit. I didn't make any videos over the summer, during MLB season, but NFL season's here, and you guys know I do cover NFL. It's one of my favorite sports along with NBA. I'm excited to talk through the slate with you guys. We're going to take a first look at the Week 1 slate, go position by position. I'm not going to spend too much time at each position. This is it's my first glance at the slate. I mean, I've looked at the pricing before, but I really haven't dove deep yet. I mean, it's Monday. The slate doesn't start for another 6 days. As we get, throughout the week, I'll start to post more content. I'll, start to really kind of finalize, my thoughts on the slate, where I'm kind of going. But for now, we'll go position by position and take a first look. We'll talk about Draftkings pricing. We'll talk about Yahoo pricing as well. We will build out a first look lineup. So, kind of talk through each position and then build out a lineup as we go. Talk through some stacks that I'm interested in and all that good stuff. And also, before we do get started, guys, I want to give a quick shout out to PrizePicks. If you do look at the bottom of the screen, we're still partnered with PrizePicks. For most of you that have watched the channel before, that have watched my videos before, if you watched during NBA season, you know that we partnered with PrizePicks a couple months ago. I know, with NFL season being here, there's a good chance we're going to have some new faces on the channel. So if you are new here, thank you so much for clicking on the video. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and also be sure to check out PrizePicks. They've got a ton of options for this Week 1 slate. Now, PrizePicks is a little bit different than DraftKings and Yahoo and FanDuel and every other DFS site. Basically, it's you versus their projections. So they have fantasy point projections for, just about every player that you could think. This is their Week 1 board, and already you can see all the players they have listed. They have their fantasy point projection for each player, and you're basically, if you see any that you like, you can basically pick whether you think they go over or under their projection. You have to make at least 2 picks. You can make up to 5 picks, and you can win up to 10x your money on PrizePicks. We'll talk through, as always, some picks I do like for this Week 1 slate. Now, since it is early on, I'm not going to give too many picks. I'll start to give more picks throughout the week. As we get closer to Sunday, in my final look video that I'll post on Friday. I'll definitely have some more picks I like for the Week 1 slate. But yeah, we'll talk through some picks I like for today, or for the Week 1 slate. You can look at their fantasy score, so fantasy points. They also have single stats. So this is basically like player props. Rushing yards for certain players, passing yards, receiving yards, receptions, passing completions, and even for defensive players, they have interceptions, or for quarterbacks, they have interceptions thrown. So you could, if you think Tom Brady throws an interception Thursday night, you could go to PrizePicks and take the over on 0.5 interceptions. If he throws an interception Thursday night in that game against the Cowboys, you would win that pick. So yeah, guys, definitely check out PrizePicks if you have not yet. They are the sponsor of this video. We partnered up with them a couple months ago. They've been, nothing but good to me. Obviously, you guys know I won the live final the PrizePicks live final, won 10K. I've made a lot of money off of PrizePicks so far. If you guys want to check them out for yourself, be sure to use promo code NOAH. When you do sign up, that will give you a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. So if you sign up, use that promo code, you deposit $100. PrizePicks, they will match that. And they will give you an additional $100 to play with. You can obviously, kind of look through the site, figure out some picks you like, and make some yourself. But it's very simple. You just take the over or the under, and you do, power play, flex play. It tells you exactly how much money you would win. So if you do a 2-pick flex play, 2 correct picks would pay out 2x. Only 1 correct pick would pay out still, 0.5x. So you would still get half your money back if you go 1 for 2 on a flex play. If you want to go a little bit heavier, you want to try and get a bigger hit, you could do a power play, a 2-pick power play. If you get both picks right, that would pay out 3x. Obviously, for a power play, you have to get both picks right, but it does have a little bit of a higher payout. So check all that out, guys. Link down below in the description, or just use promo code NOAH when you sign up for PrizePicks. Get that deposit bonus and go make some picks for yourself for this Week 1 slate. But yeah, let's go ahead and start off at quarterback, guys. We'll talk through the entire position. Not going to hit on every single player. I don't want this video to be too long, but we'll start off at the top and just kind of hit on the main guys: Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, Russell Wilson. Basically, these guys are, in my opinion, they're in play every single week. Now, there's going to be some weeks where there's guys, maybe some weeks I'm going to prefer Mahomes over Kyler. Maybe some weeks I'm going to prefer Kyler over Mahomes. But if you're playing, 150 lineups, if you're max entering, you're going to want to have all these quarterbacks in your player pool because they all have a ton of upside. They all, have rushing ability. Wilson, Allen, Kyler, Patrick Mahomes, they all can scramble, give you that rushing upside. But looking at like these top four, I would say that Kyler is definitely my favorite of the four. Kyler just gives you that elite scrambling upside. He can go out there and scramble for 80 to 100 rushing yards. I think he did have one game last year where he went for over 100 rushing yards, which is very unlikely to that you see a quarterback do that outside of a like a Lamar Jackson, and obviously Lamar Jackson not on the Week 1 main slate. So in a game against Tennessee that has a 52 total where there should be a lot of points scored, I like Kyler this week. I think he's probably my favorite pay-up option at quarterback. Probably would put Patrick Mahomes second, and then probably Josh Allen third, Russell Wilson fourth. But Kyler is the guy that I do like the most at the top this week, just kind of first look. And I do like his over on Prize Picks. So currently Prize Picks has him projected for 22 fantasy points. If you want to check out the fantasy point scoring, they have that listed on their website, but it is very similar to Draftkings. I think the only difference from Prize Picks to Draftkings is that you don't get the bonus points. So, like, if your quarterback throws for 300 yards, you don't get the 3-point bonus for that. If your running back or receiver or even your quarterback rushes for 100 yards, you don't get bonus points for that. But it's full PPR. I think everything else is the same. So, Prize Picks, their fantasy point scoring is pretty much very similar. It's almost the exact same as DraftKings, just minus the bonuses. So 22 fantasy point projection for Kyler Murray, I think is a little bit too low in a game that has a lot of shootout potential. Again, we talked about the upside that Kyler has, his scrambling ability. So I do like his over on Prize Picks. That's one kind of early pick I'm looking to target over there. Now, when we get to this mid-range at quarterback, plenty of options here you could go to. Aaron Rodgers in another game that has plenty of shootout potential against the Saints. I definitely have interest in Aaron Rodgers. There's plenty of ways to stack him up, whether you want to stack him with Devontae Adams, which will probably be the most popular option, or do like a double stack with Adams and MVS or Adams and Tanyan. Definitely like Aaron Rodgers this week at 6,800. Ryan Tannehill, I think I have some interest in as well in that mid-range. Now, between him or Aaron Rodgers, I think straight up I'm going to prefer Aaron Rodgers. But Tannehill, again, in a game that has shootout potential, I do like at home against the Cardinals. He's got more weapons this year. He's got Julio Jones now, still got A.J. Brown. This Titans offense should be really good. I mean, with Derrick Henry running the ball, with Julio and A.J. Brown outside, they got plenty of weapons. They're going to be a team that puts up a lot of points, on a weekly basis. Definitely like Ryan Tannehill this week. And lastly, I think Jalen Hurts, probably my third favorite quarterback, like in the 6K range. I think Jalen Hurts will get a good amount of ownership this week, but for good reason. He's another one of these elite scrambling quarterbacks, and he's not really priced like Kyler Murray and some of those other guys at the top. He's only 6,400. We saw Jalen Hurts when he took over last year. He was really good for fantasy. Had a big 40-point game against the Cardinals, 24 DK points against Dallas. Like, he's got upside. Just anytime you get these quarterbacks with dual threat ability, it just makes their ceiling so much higher than any other quarterback. When you have guys that can go out there and throw for, 250, 300 yards, and then they can also run for 60 to 80 yards on a weekly basis, like, their ceiling is just so much higher than everyone else's. So I definitely like Jalen Hurts too, 6,400. Him, Tannehill, Rodgers are probably my favorite like mid-range quarterbacks. Hurts, another guy that you can stack up multiple ways. You could go with Devontae Smith, who we're going to talk about later in the video, who is really cheap. You could go with Jalen Reagor, who's also really cheap. Obviously, you could go with Ertz or Goddard. Like, there's plenty of ways to stack up Hurts with his pass catchers, or you could just play him naked. Like, normally in tournaments, you're going to want to stack quarterbacks with their pass catcher. That's the way that you really maximize your upside. But Jalen Hurts is one of those dual threat guys. He's one of those kind of do it himself guys. He can have a big ceiling game without any of his pass catchers really going off. If you wanted to play Hurts by himself, you could. But I do like him this week, and I do like some of his pass catchers that we'll talk about later in the video as we get through each position. But now getting down to like the value tier, looking at some of the cheap quarterbacks this week. Really, the one guy I got my eye on, I think he's going to be popular, but it's hard not to like him. Jameis Winston is just too cheap. 5,200 for Jameis. He's officially been named the starter. It's hard not to go there. I mean, we saw, a couple years ago when Jameis was on the Bucs, like when he was starting every week, he was a $6,600, $6,700 quarterback. Like, he's just too cheap. He's a guy that's going to go out there and sling the ball. I would assume that Sean Payton's going to let him throw it plenty. I mean, he doesn't have a ton of weapons right now. Michael Thomas is still out. He's not ready to play yet, but they have Marquez Callaway. They have Traquan Smith. Obviously, they have Kamara out of the backfield. I like Winston though for the price. I think again this game has a lot of shootout potential. We've already talked about Aaron Rodgers playing him. It's on some of his pass catchers. You could also look to the other side and play Jameis Winston, who is a really cheap QB option, and his pass catchers are also really cheap this week. Again, Marquez Callaway only 3,400. He's going to be super popular, but it's hard not to like him. Traquan Smith 4,900. Even like Deontay Harris 3,200. Like this Saints offense as a whole, outside of Kamara, is just super cheap. And again, it's a game with a 49.5 total indoors. Plenty of shootout potential. I love Jameis this week. Definitely my favorite value quarterback. If I'm going cheap, he's one of the guys that I'm for sure going to be looking to. If you wanted to go somewhere else, though, like for other cheap options, I don't mind Sam Darnold in a little revenge game at home against the Jets. I think Sam Darnold will be much better this year than he has been in previous seasons with the Jets. He's actually got some weapons in Carolina. Obviously, CMC. They got DJ Moore. They got Robbie Anderson. They got this new guy, Terrence Marshall, who's supposed to be really good, a rookie. So I think Sam Darnold at 5K makes some sense as a value quarterback. But those are kind of the 5, 6, 7 quarterbacks I've got my eye on this week. In my full game-by-game breakdown, we'll talk more about everyone in that video, which will be put out later in the week, probably on Friday. But for the first look, I just want to hit on a few guys and kind of just, that really be it. So let's go ahead and move on to running back now. We'll talk about the running back position. Real quickly, though, going back over to Yahoo, I do like Jameis Winston over there as well. He's super cheap. The pricing on Yahoo is somewhat similar to DraftKings. We'll mention that Jalen Hurts is also really cheap on Yahoo, $26. But for the sake of this video, for the first look lineup, we're going to go with Jameis Winston on Yahoo as well. $24, like him a lot over there too. But now at running back at the top, you got your usual suspects here: Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara. In my opinion, it's normally every single week it's going to be this way, but Christian McCaffrey is the guy that I'm always going to try and pay up for, especially if I'm playing just one lineup, like a cash game lineup or a single entry lineup. Normally, Christian McCaffrey is the running back I'll want to build around at the top. Now, we'll have to see what ownership looks like for some of these other guys, but CMC at home against the Jets, he's $9,500, somewhat expensive, but there is plenty of value this week. The pricing for week 1 is always super soft. DraftKings put out their pricing, like 4 or 5 weeks ago. The pricing's been out for so long. There's so many cheap guys, so many value plays that it is very easy to pay up for CMC. I don't need to tell you that CMC is a good option on a weekly basis. You know what he's going to do. He's going to get massive volume, going to get plenty of carries. He's going to get all the goal line work. He's going to get plenty of plenty of targets in the passing game as well. Sam Darnold should be looking his way. So Christian McCaffrey, 9,500, clear top running back in my opinion, and easily able to get him in this week. So I definitely like CMC as kind of a staple at the running back position. That goes for both sites too. On Yahoo, I want to try and pay it for CMC over there as well if I can. But Dalvin Cook against the Bengals, you can't go wrong with Dalvin Cook either. Another guy that's going to get massive volume, plenty of carries, going to get all the goal line work, should get plenty of looks in the passing game. Definitely like Dalvin Cook and CMC the most out of the top guys. If you want to go to Derrick Henry in tournaments, I think that's where I'm more likely to use Henry. If I'm playing cash games or if I'm playing just one lineup this week, I don't think I use Derrick Henry. I would probably be more likely to use CMC or Dalvin Cook. But again, like if you're stacking Kyler Murray with DeAndre Hopkins, you want a run back option. I mean, you can never go wrong with Derrick Henry in your stacks. But for the sake of this video, I would say that CMC and Dalvin Cook are my 2 favorite running backs at the top. Kamara, I'll probably be more likely to target in stacks. So like if I'm stacking Rodgers and Devontae Adams in tournaments and I need a run back from New Orleans, that's probably when I'm more likely to use Kamara rather than, if I'm playing one lineup. I don't think he's the guy that I pay up for at the top. But then like this lower mid-range, Austin Eckler, someone I'm pretty high on just for the entire season. I think he's going to get, massive volume. I think he's going to get a ton of looks in the passing game, which is so valuable on DraftKings. With it being full PPR scoring, Eckler is going to catch probably 5 to 6 balls every week. He's going to get 8, 9 targets. He'll get plenty of carries as well. The matchup's not good. Washington, I think, is going to have probably one of the best defenses this year. Their defensive line is really good, but Eckler's a really talented running back. I think he will be very low owned this week because of the tough matchup and because of there being some other guys priced around him. So have some interest in Austin Eckler, especially on Yahoo. He's really cheap over there. You have to scroll down a good ways before you find Austin Eckler. He's way down here at $21. Again, the matchup's tough, but I still like Austin Eckler at this price point. I just think he's too talented for this price tag. He should not be $21. He should probably be up there with guys like Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, James Robinson. He should be $27, $28. We are getting a pretty good discount on Austin Eckler on Yahoo. Like him at that price point of $21. But there's one more guy I do want to hit on in this mid-range. Aaron Jones, $6,800. I think is a really, really good value play, or not value play, but like mid-range option. I don't know what his ownership's going to be, but he is definitely someone I'm looking to in this mid-range. We've already talked about a lot of guys from this Green Bay-New Orleans game that I like. Obviously, I have a lot of interest in Jameis Winston. I have a lot of interest in some of his pass catchers who are really cheap. Why not run back those stacks with a guy like Aaron Jones, who should get a ton of volume this season? Jamal Williams no longer on the team. They do have A.J. Dillon as the backup, and I think A.J. Dillon will get some good a good amount of touches as the backup. But this is still Aaron Jones' backfield. He should be their number one guy. Should get 12 to 15 carries a week. He can get work in the passing game too. He'll get 4, 5, 6 targets. Again, the matchup's kind of tough. The Saints have always been relatively good at stopping the run, but Aaron Jones just so talented. I like the price tag at $6,800. I think his ownership's going to be low. He is definitely someone I'm looking to, especially if I'm playing Jameis Winston and I want to run back with someone on the other side of that Green Bay New Orleans game. Like Aaron Jones quite a bit. And also on Yahoo, Aaron Jones, very affordable, $25. Definitely like him over there as another running back option in that mid-range that you can go to on Yahoo. But now we'll talk about the rest of the running back position. This isn't a position that has much value. I think a lot of the value this week is coming at quarterback. It's coming at wide receiver. Not a ton of cheap plays I love at running back, but when you get down to this 5K range, there are definitely some guys I do like here. Joe Mixon, he's just going to get a ton of volume. He had a pretty bad season last year. He wasn't healthy for many games. He only played about 5 or 6 games, but he's got upside. I mean, he's going to get a ton of work. He's going to get some passing game usage as well. This Bengals offense, last season they were a little bit of a disappointment. I thought with Joe Burrow at quarterback, with the weapons they had, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, like this was going to be a team that actually could maybe put up some points. Obviously, Joe Burrow got hurt. Things didn't really turn out that way, but now they're getting a healthy Joe Burrow. They still got, their good receivers, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, who I both think, have plenty of upside this year. They got Jamar Chase now as well. I do like this Bengals offense as a whole. I think the Bengals receivers are going to be really popular this week. They are very cheap. We'll talk about them when we do get to the wide receiver position, which that could mean that maybe Joe Mixon comes in a little bit lower ownership. So if everybody's going to play the Bengals pass catchers, why not just get different in tournaments and play the running back? So I definitely like Joe Mixon as a tournament option in that mid-range. And then there's some other guys here. Like, it's week 1. The pricing's super soft. There's a lot of plays. But Chris Carson, $5,900, I have some interest in. Antonio Gibson, another, guy that's going to get a lot of volume, and he's only $5,900. So he's someone I'm looking to in that 5K range. Mike Davis, I think, will be somewhat popular this week, but at $5,400, hard not to like him if he's going to have a pretty heavy role in this Falcons offense. He is their number 1 running back. No Todd Gurley. This is Mike Davis's backfield, I think. I don't see really anyone else taking, touches away from him. We saw when, Mike Davis was playing for Carolina last year when he was playing in place of CMC. He showed upside. He could, he could tote the rock 14, 15 times a game. He's a guy that can get a lot of usage in the passing game as well. $5,400 is very cheap for Mike Davis. If we project him for somewhat close to 20 touches, I mean, $5,400, hard not to like him as a sort of a cheaper running back option. He's definitely my favorite go-to kind of value play at this position. After that, though, it gets pretty thin. There's not too much else I like down here. I know, it's first look, so there might be some guys I skip over. But for now, that's kind of what I'm looking to at the running back position. Now, moving on to wide receiver. Same thing goes for wide receiver as it does for running back, for quarterback. The guys that are going to be at the top. Devonta Adams, Tyreek Hill, Calvin Ridley, D-Hop, Justin Jefferson. These guys were basically in play for me every single week. Again, if you're playing tournament lineups, if you're playing a lot of tournament lineups, maybe if you're playing 150 lineups, you're going to want to have most of these guys in your player pool. If I had to pick one of these top tier receivers, it's going to come down to, who I'm stacking the most. Again, I really like Jameis Winston. I like some of his pass catchers, so I think I'm going to be using Devonta Adams a lot as kind of a run back in those Jameis Winston stacks. Devonta Adams, for me, is probably the top receiver play, almost on a weekly basis. Just the massive volume that he gets is just unlike any other receiver we've seen. He's almost a lock to get double-digit targets. As soon as Aaron Rodgers drops back to throw, he's looking to Devonta Adams. The only thing that maybe worries me a little bit is that New Orleans defense is pretty good. They have some good corners, but I like Devonta Adams a lot. I think he's matchup-proof at this point. He's expensive, but again, there's so much value this week. There's plenty of cheap options at wide receiver that you can easily pay up for at least one of these wide receiver spots. I like Devonta Adams a lot at the top at $8,300. Now, Calvin Ridley, I do like quite a bit as well. He's probably my second favorite wide receiver at the top behind Adams. Calvin Ridley, without Julio Jones this year, he's another guy that should be a target monster. He was a target monster last season whenever Julio had to miss some games. Got double-digit targets, was always a threat in the red zone. He scored 9 touchdowns last year. I think he had I want to say like 8 or 9 games with at least 100 yards or a touchdown. I think almost every game without Julio so far for Calvin Ridley, he's scored at least one touchdown or he's gotten 100 yards. So he's just been so good with Julio, off the field. Obviously, Julio no longer on the team, so Calvin Ridley should be a target monster this season. I'm not worried about this Philly secondary. I think there's going to be plenty of opportunity for Calvin Ridley. He's a big play threat. He's going to get massive volume. It's a game indoors that should see a lot of points scored. Another game with a high total this week. This Falcons-Eagles game, 48 total. I like Calvin Ridley quite a bit. I think it's 7,900. We'll plug him in as our kind of wide receiver one. If you want to go up to Devontae Adams, no problems with that. But I'm going to go with Ridley for just kind of the sake of this video. We are going to talk about some Eagles pass catchers that I like that you can use as run back options if you're playing someone like Calvin Ridley or any other Atlanta guy. But the rest of these receivers, I mean, like I can't go wrong with any of these top tier guys. A lot of guys are questionable, but they're all going to play. I mean, it's week 1. All these guys are going to be active most likely. So looking down in the mid range, kind of these 6K options. We talked about Sam Darnold earlier at quarterback as a cheap quarterback option. If you want to stack him up with DJ Moore, 6,100, I do like that quite a bit. Robbie Anderson, 5,700. I think this Carolina passing game is going to be fairly low owned. Obviously, CMC will be pretty popular. He's normally popular every single week. That's going to mean that, guys like DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Sam Darnold, are not going to get much ownership. I do like going that route in tournaments. Obviously, you're not going to play Sam Darnold, Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, You're not going to play all those guys in the same lineup, but in lineups where maybe you don't have Christian McCaffrey, or in a few lineups where you don't play CMC, maybe you target the Carolina passing game, because in the scenario that Christian McCaffrey has a bad game, that probably means that, the pass catchers are doing most of the work, and Sam Darnold is throwing most of his touchdowns rather than handing them off to Christian McCaffrey. So I do like DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson in tournaments as tournament options to stack with Sam Darnold. But then, getting down to the 5K range, Odell Beckham, like him a lot this week. 5,400 for Odell Beckham. I know he did not have a great year last year, but he was injured for most of the season. He only played a few games. He should be back full go come week 1, and 5,400. If we're getting a fully healthy Odell Beckham in a pretty likely shootout against Kansas City, a game where the Browns probably are going to be playing from behind and going to have to throw, I mean, this is the perfect scenario for Odell Beckham. I think he's going to get 8 to 10 targets. I think we're going to see him kind of step back into that elite wide receiver 1 status that he's been in previous seasons. I like him a lot at 5,400. It's just way too cheap of a price tag for Odell if he is fully healthy and, with the full offseason to heal, to rest up, to get prepared for this year. I think Odell comes in, makes a big statement. He's going to be a guy that, rises back to the top. I think 5,400, we're not going to see Odell be that price tag for very long. 2 to 3 weeks from now, Odell will probably be up there with the 7K to 8K guys. I think we definitely want to get on him now at 5,400 while we can. So I do like him a good amount on DraftKings. He's super cheap on Yahoo as well. So if you want to go to OBJ, like him a lot there. We're going to talk about Travis Kelce at tight end. You can use Travis Kelce, Odell Beckham, pair them together as kind of a run back or like a correlated stack. I do like that a lot. Definitely like Odell on Yahoo. Like him on DraftKings too. For sure, one of my favorite options at receiver in this 5K range. But once we get down to the 5K and below, this is where we have a lot of value. Guys like Laviska Shenault, with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, I think this Jaguars offense should be a little, I wouldn't say a little bit, they should be much better this year. I think Laviska is a good option at 5K. Corey Davis at 4,900 as the Jets' number 1 wide receiver. I mean, we don't really know how good this Jets offense is going to be, but 4,900 for Corey Davis is super cheap. He was really good last year with Tennessee, even operating as a number 2 receiver. Now he's going to get an even heavier role, going to get more volume. Matchup against Carolina, I'm not scared of. So definitely like Corey Davis for value. But we got some punt options that we definitely need to talk about. First off, Devontae Smith, 4,500. Look, he's a rookie. We never know what rookies are going to do week 1, but he's priced just incorrectly this week. 4,500 is way too cheap for Devontae Smith. Heisman Trophy winner last year with Alabama. If you watched any of Alabama's games, I mean, this dude is insanely fast. It seems like he's always open. He's super skinny. He's not a big guy, but he's just super quick. He catches everything. He never really drops any passes. 4,500 in a good matchup against Atlanta in a game that has a lot of shootout potential. Really, really like Devontae Smith this week. We can correlate him with Calvin Ridley, pair those two guys together as a correlated little mini stack. Love Devontae Smith as a value receiver. I think he's going to be really popular, but it kind of makes sense. He's just too cheap for the upside that he has. We'll have to see how much volume he really gets on a weekly basis in this Eagles offense. If he's going to be a guy that gets 8 to 10 targets, we don't really know. But the big play upside, just the overall talent, 4,500 is too cheap for Devontae Smith. So I like him a lot as a value option. And then there's a couple more guys I do want to hit on down here for cheap. You got Jalen Reagor, who we talked about. You compare with Jalen Hurts. Again, Devontae Smith is going to be pretty popular. So if you want to get a little bit different, maybe you stack Jalen Hurts with Jalen Reagor instead of Devontae Smith, or you could double stack. That's something I'm definitely looking to do in tournaments for sure. Marvin Jones, though, at 3,600, another just receiver that's too cheap. He's probably going to be the number one receiver for Jacksonville this year. Either him or Laviska Shenault. Both these guys, I think, have plenty of upside this season. I think this Jacksonville offense, again, should be much better this year with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback. Trevor Lawrence obviously is a very talented quarterback. He should be able to get these guys the ball. This Jacksonville offense should be able to move the ball down the field very easily against this Houston defense. Like, there's a very good chance that Houston is going to be probably the worst team in the league this year. Either the Texans or the Lions will probably be the worst team in the league this year. So, love Marvin Jones here. I like a lot of these Jacksonville guys, but Marvin Jones at 3,600 is just way too cheap. He's a value guy that I'm definitely looking to at receiver. And then Marquez Callaway, we kind of mentioned him already. 3,400, you can stack him up with Jameis Winston. He's going to be the number one receiver for the Saints. Michael Thomas not playing this week. I think Michael Thomas is going to be out for like the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. They still do have Traquan Smith, who's going to get some targets as well, but Callaway was really good during the preseason. He did show some connection with Jameis Winston. I know Jameis Winston threw a couple touchdowns to Callaway during the preseason. We know Jameis Winston will sling the ball down the field. He's a guy that will take deep shots. Callaway has some speed. He can break off these long touchdown catches, which he did in the preseason. 3,400, if we project him for anywhere near 6, 7, 8 targets, which is probably what he's going to get, 3,400 is just too cheap for Marquez Callaway. He's going to be very popular. Make sure you're building lineups correctly. Like, if you're building tournament lineups, obviously you can play Marquez Callaway, even though he will be popular, but don't jam him in with a bunch of other chalk. Kind of get different in some other spots, get some leverage somewhere. In cash games, you're probably going to want to play Marquez Callaway this week. He's going to be one of the first kind of value receivers you target in tournaments. He's going to be popular. I still like playing him in tournaments. Just kind of understand, when you're building your lineups, you don't want to just jam in a bunch of popular guys in tournaments. You want to have some differentiation somewhere, have some correlate your lineups like we're going to talk about. You kind of see we've already got Winston stacked up with Callaway, run back with Aaron Jones. We got Christian McCaffrey, kind of as a one-off, but we got Devontae Smith, Calvin Ridley. Those two guys kind of correlated together. That's how you want to build out your tournament lineups. You want to correlate. You want to build stacks that make sense. Whether it's stacking a quarterback with a receiver, or 2 receivers, or even a quarterback stacked with a receiver and a tight end. A lot of ways you can build lineups, but you always want to be correlating your lineups. Look for some leverage. Find guys that are low owned that have upside, and kind of build lineups that way. So that's kind of what I'm looking to at receiver this week. Now, to go back to Yahoo to talk about some other receivers I like here. A lot of the guys we already mentioned, I like a lot on Yahoo. Again, the pricing is very similar. You're going to see, most of the guys I talked about are pretty cheap on Yahoo, like Marvin Jones, $17. Corey Davis, though, I do like quite a bit on Yahoo. He's only $15. You compare him or correlate him with Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey, obviously, going to get massive volume. There's a good possibility the Panthers win this game. There's a good possibility they are playing with a lead. If they're playing with a lead for most of the game and the Jets are forced to throw, I think Corey Davis is going to be one of the first guys that benefits in that scenario. When Zach Wilson drops back to throw, I think he's going to be looking to Corey Davis. I think Davis going to be a guy that gets probably 8 to 10 targets a week. $15 on Yahoo. I like him a lot as a value receiver. And then again, Marquez Callaway, already mentioned him. He's super cheap on Yahoo as well. Only $12. You can stack him up with Jameis Winston. Again, I think that's going to be a pretty popular quarterback receiver stack, but there's plenty of ways to get different. I don't think Aaron Jones gets a ton of ownership this week. We got him as a run back option with our stack to get us, a little bit different in tournaments. And we've already talked about plenty of other low-owned guys I do like in tournaments this week. But that does it for receiver. Let's go ahead and move on to defense not defense, but tight end real quick. We'll talk about the tight end position and hit on some plays I do like for tight end as well. At the top, you got your 2 guys that, in my opinion, are just so much better than everyone else. Travis Kelce, George Kittle are just miles ahead of every other tight end when it comes to fantasy upside. Obviously, Travis Kelce is very expensive. He's $8,300, but he's the number 1 tight end every single week. If you want to play Travis Kelce, please play him. He's a great play every single week. He's always going to project well. There should be plenty of value. We've already talked about so many cheap options. You can definitely play Travis Kelce this week. even in cash games, I think he could be someone you build around in cash games with all the value that we do have. If you're stacking up Cleveland, like if, again, we talked about Odell Beckham, who I think is too cheap this week, you want to stack him up with, with Baker Mayfield. Obviously, Travis Kelce could be a good run back in those Baker Mayfield OBJ stacks, and that's kind of what I like on Yahoo. Now, obviously, I didn't play Baker Mayfield on Yahoo, but we've got Odell in there. I like running it back with Travis Kelce. He's expensive, $33 on Yahoo, but the pricing on Yahoo, very soft, similar to DraftKings. There's plenty of value. You should easily be able to pay up for Travis Kelce on Yahoo for $33. I do like him quite a bit over there. Got him correlated running back with our OBJ lineup now. Other tight ends, George Kittle for the savings, I think I slightly prefer over Kelce this week. Not saying that Kittle is going to outscore Kelce. I don't think he really projects as high as Kelce does. But 6,300 for George Kittle, I mean, if there's anyone that can outscore Travis Kelce on a weekly basis, it's going to be this guy. I mean, he's going to get massive volume. It seems like it's going to be Jimmy Garoppolo starting at quarterback, whether it's Jimmy G or Trey Lance, whichever one. I don't think it really makes a difference that much for Kittle. He's going to get his 8 to 10 targets. It's a great matchup against Detroit. My only concern is that this San Francisco team, they do love to run the ball. This is a game where they should just easily be able to win. They're going to probably be playing with a lead for most of the game, which is a bit of a concern, but I think George Kittle still gets 8 to 10 targets. It's a great matchup. The Lions are terrible. They're not going to stop anyone this season. 6,300 for George Kittle. He's for sure one of my favorite tight ends on DraftKings. If you want to get up to Kelce, by all means go ahead, but I do like the discount you get going down from Kelce to Kittle. In a tight end, there's plenty of value too. This is another position where you can find some cheap options. We've already talked about Jalen Hurts and his other, his receivers you can stack him with. You could also stack him with Dallas Goedert, with Zach Ertz. Goddard, 4,800. I have some interest in. Kyle Pitts, I think, is probably the best value option in the 4K range. We don't really know what we're going to get from Kyle Pitts. Obviously, he's a rookie. Devontae Smith, a rookie as well. You never know what these rookies are going to do in their first, big league game. But Kyle Pitts was really good during the preseason. He was excellent at Florida. I mean, he was a great tight end. This is someone that he looks like he's a tight end, but when you watch him, he looks like a running back. Like the first time I watched one of the Falcons preseason games this year, and I saw Kyle Pitts catch the ball, I literally thought it was a running back running. Like, he's super quick. He's big. He's strong. I mean, he's athletic tight end. He should fill that Austin Hooper role. He's going to get plenty of targets. Without Julio, you should see Calvin Ridley probably lead this team in targets, but I would say Kyle Pitts is probably going to be second on the team behind Calvin Ridley. 4,400 in a game that has shootout potential. I do like Kyle Pitts as a value tight end if you don't want to pay up to the top for Kelce, for Kittle, for those guys. Now, below 4K, kind of getting a little bit cheaper. Plenty of options here. You could also go to, Hayden Hurst. I don't want to count him out really. He was someone that I did roster a lot last year, and although he was kind of disappointing, I think we're going to see Atlanta run a lot of 2 tight end sets. You're going to see them have Hurst and Pitts on the field a lot together. So you could definitely play Hayden Hurst at 3,700. I do want to talk about the Minnesota tight ends. So obviously Kyle Rudolph no longer on the team. Irv Smith did get injured during the preseason and doesn't look like he's going to play week 1. I think he's actually going to be out for a few games if I remember correctly. Yeah, they put him on the IR. So this Minnesota team is very thin at tight end. Now, they're not really a team that utilizes tight ends too much. Like, Kyle Rudolph really never had a ton of upside. Irv Smith, when he did get playing time, showed some upside, but it's not like you're going to get, you're not going to get 8-10 targets from the tight ends from Minnesota, but there'll be guys that get some options or get looks in the red zone. And, Tyler Conklin, he's super cheap. I don't feel great about him, but if we need a cheap tight end, he's only 2,900. I assume he's their number 1 tight end heading into week 1. They did pick up Chris Herndon from the Jets, or who used to play for the Jets, and Chris Herndon at times shown some upside with the Jets, but it seems like Tyler Conklin's going to be the number 1 tight end for Minnesota with Kyle Rudolph no longer on the team, with Irv Smith out on injury reserve. Conklin's kind of next man up, and he's only 2,900. Tight end's a position where, if you're not going to the top for Kittle or Kelce, a lot of these cheap tight ends that I've mentioned, I do have some interest in, but none of these guys, I mean, we don't really know what any of these tight ends are going to do. Like, none of these tight ends have massive upside outside of the top 2 guys, Kittle and Kelce. So Tyler Conklin, if you want to punt the position, just go super cheap at tight end, hope he catches 4 balls for 40 yards and a touchdown. Like, he could definitely do that. So as a value tight end, I think he makes some sense. We'll have to see, what the report is between him and Chris Herndon. If they say that Chris Herndon's the number 1 tight end, then you got Chris Herndon at 3,300. But I would assume that Conklin, since he's been on the team, is probably their number 1 tight end heading into week 1. But that kind of does it for the tight end position, guys. I think we kind of talked through everything here. And I think that kind of does it for this video. Now, heading into defense, I don't spend really any time on defense. In my opinion, defense is just, it's pure luck every single week. No one knows what defense is going to go off, what defense is going to do good. I just kind of play what defenses fit into my lineup. So we got 2,800 left into this lineup. You could play the Steelers against Buffalo, although I don't really like that. You know, Josh Allen's not really a quarterback. He will turn the ball over, but don't really like the Steelers defense that much. I think the kind of defenses I was looking at was like the Jacksonville. I mean, Jacksonville's defense I don't think is going to be very good, but Houston should be terrible this year. I don't think Houston's going to be a very good offense. Tyrod Taylor is going to be their starting quarterback. You know, he'll take some sacks. He's a scrambling quarterback, so you know, there's always a threat with these scrambling quarterbacks that they take plenty of sacks. So 2,700 for the Jags defense. We'll just kind of plug them into our first look lineup. And that we also have enough for the Jags defense on Yahoo. The Jags defense, minimum salary $10. We can plug them in there as well. So that's kind of a first look lineup for week 1, guys. You know, obviously, I don't think I'm going to be playing this lineup. You know, I never really build these lineups for you guys to play. It's just to talk through the slate, kind of talk through stacks, you know, potential options that we could be targeting come Sunday. Obviously, as the week goes on, I'm going to have more content posted. We'll start to post, you know, stuff for the showdown slate. We have a game Thursday between the Cowboys and Bucks. Obviously, I will be making a video for that showdown slate. I'll be live streaming as well Thursday. It's been a while since I've live streamed, but I will definitely be back Thursday, you know, close to kickoff, probably an hour or two before kickoff, covering the showdown slate, talking through everything with you guys. And then, you know, Friday or Saturday, we'll probably have my final look video. Gonna make a few more videos as well throughout the week, and we will be live streaming on Sunday morning before the main slate starts, talking through the slate with you guys, answering all your questions. So there's a lot of content coming out throughout the week, guys. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. And also, if you haven't yet, check out Prize Picks, link down below in the description. We did mention Kyler Murray, his over on Prize Picks. I like that quite a bit. There's a couple more I wanted to hit on before we end this video. We mentioned Marquez Callaway. His projection on Prize Picks is fairly low, only 10 fantasy points. Again, I think Marquez Callaway, especially with Jameis Winston at quarterback, definitely has some upside. He's a deep play threat. He's only projected for 10 fantasy points, and with Prize Picks being, you know, similar to DraftKings scoring, with it being full PPR, I mean, for him to go over this projection, he only needs like 5 catches for 55 yards, and he's gone over this projection, which he can easily do. The target should be there. He's got big play upside. I like having Winston at quarterback. I do like the over on Marquez Callaway fantasy points. That's another pick I'm targeting on Prize Picks for week 1, kind of first look. And then the last one I want to mention, Christian McCaffrey. I mean, I'm going to take his over most weeks. 23.5 is probably too low of a projection for CMC. Going to get 15 to 20 carries, going to get 6 to 8 targets, going to get all the goal line work. I mean, he averaged last season, DraftKings scoring, he averaged what? I know it was only 3 games, but he averaged like over 30 fantasy points per game in those 3 games. Most weeks, CMC is going to go over 23.5, especially against a pretty bad team like the Jets. So I like the over on Christian McCaffrey too. Those are 3 early look picks I do like on Prize Picks. Again, guys, you want to check out Prize Picks, use promo code NOAH when you sign up. You'll get a deposit bonus up to $100. If you deposit $100, Prize Picks will match that, give you an additional $100 to play with. You can go make some picks for yourself, or you can, you know, tell me, do these 3 picks, go over on these 3 guys. You can do a 3-pick power play, which would pay out 5x if you go 3 for 3. Or if you want to play it a little bit safer, you could do a 3-pick flex play. You only need to get 2 of the 3 right to win some money. So yeah, check out Prize Picks, guys. Link down below in the description, or just use promo code NOAH when you sign up. But I think that does it for this video, guys. I think that does it for the first look of this week 1 slate. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We'll have more content posted throughout the week as we do get closer to Sunday, do get closer to the week 1 kickoff. But best of luck this week, guys. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.